Oh man, I look like poop. Woo! Hello and welcome to another Not Chilly game review. And on today's list, we're going to be reviewing Called of Juarez. I'm terrified to say this name. Gunslinger. I'm going to just show you the name and hope that you guys can get it. So from here on in, I'm going to be referring to this game as this game because I don't want to try to say the name again and embarrass myself further. So this game was released in 2013 in May and was published by Ubisoft and was developed by Techland. This game tells the story of a guy named Silas Greaves who stumbles into a bar, has a couple of drinks, and tells his story about being a gunslinger and his quest for revenge. So I'm going to go straight into the gameplay elements now. Now there's three things I really notice. Obviously it's a first-person shooter. Secondly is that it's an arcade-style XP gathering experience. Very much kind of a bit like Borderlands, you would imagine. Just as you shoot things, the score appears. It tells you how many points. The better the shot you take, the more combos you hit, the better your XP. You put that XP towards upgrading your skills, just like most games. And the next feature is this duel system, which is kind of like you would in the real Western kind of situation, where, you know, two people have a standoff and you got to wait for the appropriate moment to pull out your gun. But at the whole period of time, you're trying to gauge your speed and your focus. So you're focusing onto them with the cursor, which is quite difficult. And you're adjusting your aim, or not your aim, but how quickly you can draw the gun by levering your hand over the actual holster of the gun. And the better and more accurately you do that, the quicker you can draw. And then there's a third element, which is your ability to dodge. And so you can shift left to right as the gun comes out, obviously affecting how you shoot. And these three elements combined with watching the other person to make sure that you can get the draw as they draw is what makes it a really exciting element. And finally, there's a slow-mo element, which is actually quite handy in this game because of the visuals, which I'll get onto a little bit later. It's quite visceral, quite a lot of information coming straight at you. And sometimes it's very hard to spot out who the people are and what the environment is. And so they get into this slow-mo mode, which highlights everyone in red and makes it easy to, you know, shoot them. And of course, there's these other elements, like when you get into like a quick time almost event, where you pop into an environment and suddenly you're being swarmed by men, and so you can quickly press a combination of buttons and triggers to be able to shoot off and kill all these people as quickly as possible. Okay, moving straight on to visual look of this game. It is gorgeous. It reminds me of Borderlands, and it also has probably, I would almost say, even more detail. It really suits the theme of the game. It's just a stunning game to look at. The enemies, because they're harder to see, makes it more fun to spot them out. It looks like they put a lot of effort into making it look really dramatic, is maybe the way to put it. It's just a really gorgeous and well-suited visual style. Now, story-wise, this game I could almost consider it predictable. It's probably not the nicest way of putting it. I mean, it is interesting because it takes you into these weird paths and weird points of history. But the actual game itself is quite, I guess you definitely would call it predictable. But in a good way. Because you want to play this game because it's a real traditional style Western. And there's not really too many surprises in this game. But it is really fun watching how they play out these stories. Especially when it comes to the element of when they integrate the story with the gameplay. And so you'll be walking through and suddenly the main character will remember something about the environment, and then the environment will take shape.
I finally made it past and headed on to meet my destiny. But first, I had something I needed to figure out. I had a few ideas on how to get into that mine, but once I made my decision, I knew there was no turning back. So my first thought was to enter the nearest mine portal. I saw an entrance. Made sense.
Now, I can't really fault the sound at all. It sounds perfect for what the game is. Everything has been set correctly. The effects are really impactful. They have great moments of excitement, and the music is really good. I just really can't fault it. It just fits perfectly, and it never stood out. And that being said, in a really good way, didn't stand out. Now, should you get this game? Well, I'm going to say yes. I mean, I got it for a very cheap price, but that doesn't really pull away from the fact that I really enjoyed playing this game. It was well made. Might have only been about 6 hours long, but it was really fun, really exciting to play, and it was just a great time. If you really enjoy the old school Western style shooters, I highly recommend this game. Get it, pick it up, have some 6 hours of lots of fun, and then move on. And you'll probably even replay it. That's the thing about this game as well, is that it's exciting. You want to kind of maximize your score. I'm not sure if there's any leaderboards out there, considering it's only a single player game, but it is really exciting to try to maximize those scores because it is quite rewarding. That's all for me today. Thank you very much for listening. Feel free to add comments down below and have a chit chat about this game. And if there's any questions, then feel free to ask. Thanks.